Welcome back, guys, to CFL Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans. And we have our recap here of the CFL preseason, which you may or may not have been paying attention to. I completely understand if you weren't. It's just preseason. However, there's a lot of takeaways coming out of this. Guys that got cut that were maybe a little bit more surprising. Guys that maybe can crack a roster, whether that's on the team that they try it out for or possibly elsewhere. So how are we feeling here in the sense of that we had done our season previews, Rick? And so, like, how are we feeling about this? I'll ask you this first. As a Ticats fan, how are you feeling about this?
So for the Ticats, nothing really stood out for
Other
me.
than that, they beat Toronto.
No, like I'm just like looking at their cuts from earlier,
Yep.
and no one stood out for me. Like a lot of like I spoke with a lot of Ticat fans, and they're
Yep.
like, "Oh, Poppy White got cut." Poppy White was not a top like for him to make the team. I'm sorry, you have to be in like the top 5 wide receivers,
Yeah.
and he just
So, and when you say so,
wasn't cutting the cheese.
he was released. He was not put on like a practice roster or anything.
No, he was released.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't got the best knowledge of the Ticats, so I kind of leave that towards you. Although I gotta say, for my Bombers side of things, the Bombers releasing Mark Leggio. It has been a long time coming. Not because Leggio was bad, in the sense of like us Bomber fans were not the biggest fan of him as our kicker. However, he wasn't a bad punter. So they released him, so he's not even going to be punting for the Bombers. Although if there is any plus side for Bomber fans, him just being cut, it means that instead of being put as punter, they can't put him at kicker if they wanted to because he's not there. So this is something where the Bombers are now putting full faith in Sergio Castillo, and they're putting Sheehan into that spot. I was surprised, but also not, that Jordan Salima got cut, as I thought he had a really, really good performance in the preseason there for the Bombers at the running back position. He's a guy that I actually expect for a team to possibly look to pick up. And so I'll be curious to kind of see how that goes. And I mean, Pigram was a fantastic performer here for the Bombers. I think Pigram you actually use as your second QB. I think he actually knocked Drew Brown into that third spot, at least for now, with how good Pigram was playing, the way that he was able to throw the ball decent, but then also he was really good at running that ball. He's the guy you're definitely going to have it for short yardage at least. So that's
Yeah,
kind of my 2 cents on
I
my
guess
team.
I guess it depends on who you speak with Winnipeg, because I noticed like some fans were angry that he was cut, and then some are like, "Whew,
I
sign
saw
of relief."
yeah, it's funny. I actually saw more people. The people I saw that were the most mad were non-Bomber fans. Like I saw one where they're like, "No, I loved playing against Leggio," and I was like, it was such a mixed bag because Leggio was a really, really weird kicker in the sense of that he would go one play and he'd hit that 40-yard field goal, and then he'd miss the convert on the next touchdown. Like it was just a consistency thing. It was just all over the place and one of those things. So when you're going into the playoffs, it's like that level of inconsistency isn't the best, because if you at least have consistency, even if it's not the best, even if you're not the best consistency, but at least if you have a consistent record, the coach can be like, okay, we're 40 yards out. I'm not necessarily confident this guy's going to hit it. Let's go for it on third down. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it makes coaching the offense a little bit easier. So that is it is what it is there. If we're looking at this preseason from a few other perspectives, so if I'm looking through here, decent performance by the Alouettes. They win both games. They beat the Ticats and they beat the Red Blacks. Which is something where, like, the Alouette season, they are such a confusing team in the sense of that the Alouettes, I think, overperformed a bit last season in the sense of where they kind of came out of nowhere, where they hadn't really made all these big moves, but just guys bought into the system there and they were able to perform really well. And there is very much that possibility there now. But with Cody Fajardo there, I'm not 100% sure. Now, one thing that some people have mentioned, and it's a fair thing to mention there, is that with the change of scenery, that might be the difference for them. And I'd be curious to see maybe some of these guys that were in that preseason possibly slide up into that spot with the team to see exactly where they'll go from there. So I'm not exactly sure where the Alouettes kind of go from there. But a strong preseason, I feel like, is some good momentum at least going into week one for sure.
Yeah. So the only thing that is really standing out for me for like the receiving core
Mm-hmm.
now that Montreal's, obviously we'll get into like it more in our like late preseason, no,
When we're talking
regular
about
season week.
individual
Yeah.
matchups,
But I mean, like, even like now that they've made their cuts, like, okay, you have Julian's Spiker and Worthy, like, and Ellington. Like, there's not that big name person that
Ellingson.
each team has. Yeah, but Alexon's like 34 though. Like,
The
is he
the
really
thing
gonna
about
have?
Ellingson is a really good receiver. The thing is
Mm-hmm.
though is that he's a certain type of receiver, and what I mean by that is that he's very much not like a Dalton Schoen, and he's not like a Kenny Lawler in the sense of Greg Ellingson is going to consistently get you a first down. He's not going to
Yeah.
get you like 30 or 40 yards. He won't.
Mm-hmm.
He runs those short dagger routes, and he's good at that. So it's one of those things where if you have consistent throwing, it's really effective because you can march down a field. However, if you don't, that's where you run into problems because when you have inconsistent throwing, you can occasionally do that long bomb to make up for it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But with Ellingson, you're not getting that because he's a first down receiver in the sense of he's always just pushing that 10, you know? So with Cody Fajardo, it really depends on if this change of scenery really it reinvigorates his game or if the problems he had in Saskatchewan continue. Now, he also had a offensive line in Saskatchewan that did not do him any favors. I do think that has improved in Montreal in the sense of I do think Montreal's offensive line has more will be able to do a lot more in favor of Cody Fajardo than the Riders O line ever did for him. But we'll have to see. But if we're getting into some of these other teams, what has to be one of the most confusing teams, and this isn't just confusing for preseason, this is just confusing about this team's entire existence, is the Edmonton Elks. In where, like, if you're the Elks, where in the flying F do you go?
Well, here's something that I was kind of thinking while you were mentioning that. So I'm gonna bring up one player from the Elks, and I just gotta find out what team the one person that was it. Oh, what team was he added on to their practice? Oh, here it is. BC Lions. Okay. Everyone always says, okay, those people who can't make the NFL anymore come up and play in the CFL.
Mhm.
So you have running back Antonio Williams, who was with Buffalo Bills down
Yep.
in the States. Then you have with Edmonton, Sammy Coates, who had multiple years with Pittsburgh Steelers,
Yep.
more experience in the NFL than uh, Antonio Williams did. However, Sammy Coates got cut by Edmonton. How do you get cut being a veteran NFL player? Do you get cut by a team like Edmonton?
And
And
not even
then
just a CFL team, a bad CFL team.
And it's not even that. Like Antonio Williams, who was a running back, like BC, like you're going with basically McKay and a rookie for running back. And Antonio Williams, who has NFL experience, couldn't even make their main roster. He got placed on their practice roster.
Yeah, and this is something where I did mention it, I think, the other day, that is important. As much as it's one of those things where it seemingly doesn't make sense. It is smart that they decided to put him on that practice roster and not cut him outright, even if they thought that he was absolutely horrible, because he had spent some time in the NFL. It might just be an adjustment thing in the sense of maybe he adjusts and then he's ready, and then you throw him up on your main roster. You know what I mean? but definitely a bit confusing on how he's not there yet, as you would somewhat expect that. A move I've heard the Elks being surrounded by is the possibility of them possibly bringing in Mark Leggio in the punting department, at least. As I don't think Mark Leggio is a bad punter at all. I actually think that he's actually a pretty decent punter. I'm surprised the Bombers didn't keep him around as a punter. But it'd be interesting to see him get that change of scenery in Edmonton, as it seems like Edmonton and Winnipeg love to exchange players with Waller coming back.
So here's the thing with
Yeah.
that I don't know if you see is Saturday night.
Yep.
When they announced their final cuts, they actually signed Jake Julian, a punter.
So maybe they have Leggio going in for kicking. I don't know. Because I'd heard them being surrounded, Mark Leggio at least, at some point. Although I'm not gonna lie, it's been hard for me to think about anything with all the Kongbo stuff that's happened. So if you guys haven't checked that out, make sure to check out our video on the Jonathan Kongbo situation. That was just a treat of a video to make. And if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys join the CFL Discord. We're really active in there. We chat all the time. There's a lot of great people that chat in there, so make sure you guys join around. And yeah.
And
I don't know why I'm doing a plug mid-video instead of waiting for the end of the video or doing it near the start. I don't know. But mid-video plug, join the Discord. Link in the description below. Continue.
But yeah, so like, I mean, even if you look at Edmonton, like, I think that it's gonna, like, it makes you wonder if there is going to be that crossover with how not strong some of these teams are going to be with what I've seen so far.
I see. Also, quick question. Just because I want to check it out as well. I know in the Discord you had posted the cuts. Where did you post the cuts in the Discord? I want to take a look right now.
So if you go to the Discord channel and you go to CFL
transactions,
but I will also hold on. I'll make it easier for you.
Here, it's okay. I can see enough.
I was gonna say, if you go into your DMs, I just sent you the link for the CFL, and it breaks it down by teams.
Here at CFL,
who got cut, who got suspended, and who is added on to the practice roster.
I might just look at the Discord because it's all in list format there. But I gotta say, here at CFL Central, we do shit on the fly. We preparing. What's that? So because one thing I was a little bit interested by was the if I'm looking here, with some of the moves made by the Riders, I thought. If I scroll back here, let's see here, because I had yeah, I'm just gonna check that thing you sent me because
the Canadian running back, and I'm probably gonna. I apologize if this player's listening to this. I'm probably gonna butcher your first name. Keenan LaFrance. Apparently, he's a CFL veteran running back who got cut by Saskatchewan. Who, if anyone's going to be picked up as a running back, it will be him.
It will be him. Or like I said, if they want someone younger, possibly I could see Jordan Salima getting picked up. Not over LaFrance, but I could see him coming in. Although you had talked about before this, even that the Riders had also announced the signing of Colin Kelly, O-lineman there for the Riders.
The only thing with that is that he has to sit out week 1.
Because of when the signing was? Is that what it is?
No, because last year he got pinched for drug use.
Oh, so overlapping suspension.
And he has to, I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's Colin Kelly's suspension. I'm not sure if it's 1 game or 2.
Yep.
Oh, he has to sit out 2 games, so he can't even play till week 3.
Interesting. Yeah, well, we'll have to see how that goes for them. But like, if I'm looking here as well, I'm looking at I'm trying to get an idea of the Red Blacks' direction here because I'm looking at their cuts and I see a decent amount of receivers cut here. And I'm not sure if that's necessarily the best move. And the reason why I say that is because Ottawa's a little bit pinched for receivers in the sense of they got some really good ones. They got some guys with a lot of promise. I mean, we had chat with Braylon Addison. I think Braylon Addison had two decent seasons there in Hamilton, and he's still got a lot of time to get even better than he already is, and so there's room for that. But I think if you have a team where you don't have a defined starting four, then that means that those spots are open for someone to really make it theirs. And so I think you want to keep more receivers to at least have those options. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Allow one of those guys that breakout chance and to see if they can go with that. So I'm interested to see what they do here because of those moves that they had made because they had cut Willie Pierre Dimbongi, holy crap, Jake Dunaway, quarterback Jake Dunaway. I'm stupid. And then Emmanuel Butler.
Yeah, it's funny because the Emmanuel Butler, he was actually on our practice
I was
roster
about to
last
say
year.
Emmanuel Butler is a name I've heard before. That's
And the funny thing is if you think about it, okay, so these cuts were supposed to be announced by Saturday, and not even
started at 10 p.m. Eastern.
10, yeah, not even 24 hours. We had gone and we, as in Hamilton, had gone out and picked up one of the cuts that Calgary made. So that just shows you, like,
So
just
that's
because
the
you
thing
got
that's
cut.
so interesting is because there's such in the CFL there's such a quick turnaround with all this stuff. I mean, like
Oh
for
yeah,
like a good example is like Sean Lemon gets signed by BC, doesn't even play a game. They drop him, pick up Kongbo. Kongbo's gone in like a week or whatever it was. It was not long.
no,
Still hadn't even played a game. He's gone. And now there's the possibility of them bringing Sean Lemon back into the equation or seeing one of their guys on their practice squad possibly come in and fill that spot.
I take that back. The La France running back
Yep.
got signed by BC today.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay. Because I was about
So
to say,
yeah,
I remember you
like I
talking about it
said,
earlier.
that
So, yeah.
just goes to show like how much could change within a 24-hour period. Just
Where
because you get
guys
cut,
get dropped, they other teams will snatch them.
yeah,
And that's the thing is that with football it's one of those things because there's so many different aspects. It's not like hockey where there's defensemen, forwards, goalies. I mean, obviously there's wingers, centers, but like defensemen, forwards, goalies. That's mainly what
yeah,
those are your three. You know what I mean? With football, it's like,
mhm.
okay, you got quarterbacks, you got running backs, you got linebackers, you have defensive linemen, and D tackle and D end are two completely different positions in the sense of your approach is different. And then you have your offensive line, you have your receivers, you have those guys that
And
kind of are a hybrid between a receiver and a running back. There's a lot of different things. So because of that, there's a lot of holes that teams look to fill. So because of that, when guys get cut because they maybe don't fit it up to the standard of the team that they're hoping for, if they're a running back and the team that they're trying out for has good running backs and they don't make it, that doesn't mean they're bad because there's 8 other teams and it's most likely that one of them is looking for running backs. You know what I mean? So
but here,
that's why
but here's
players get picked up so damn quickly.
here's the thing though. But if you look at a CFL roster, you have 46. We'll say 46 players. So you got 22 Canadians, give or take ratio,
Yep.
22 Americans, and 2 global players that have to be on the team. Then you have 10 practice squads. Okay, now you look at your practice squads. Okay, what are you going to do? Have one person per position on your practice squad? Like, how are you going to determine what positions you have on your practice
I
squad?
think that's where you look at which positions are injury prone, which positions are we not as confident in the sense of where
True.
we might have to actually rotate a guy out. It really, I have to imagine it varies team to team. But an interesting thing as well when it comes to this preseason, was the decisions of the Calgary Stampeders, because they had decided, they went through their cuts, but then as well they had released offensive lineman Derek Dennis, which because the thing is that releases is so confusing in the CFL, and the reason it's so confusing is because you'll never know why a guy gets released. It could be budget, in the sense of where it could be cap reasons. It could be for locker room reasons, because, there's a lot of guys in football that egos run into each other in football. It just happens. Sometimes you see it on the sidelines. We all know who I'm talking about, but we're not going to say who it is.
Or even if a team wants to go like younger.
Exactly, but then there's some teams where they want to go younger, because if you look at a team like Edmonton, I think Edmonton's probably a prime example of a team that ideally should want to go younger, because if you have a guy like Taylor Cornelius, you build guys around that, you know what I mean, and you bring in a few veterans to be able to pass that knowledge on to those rookies that you bring in, because that's the thing. Edmonton, they're getting guys through the draft, because no offense, they're not going to the playoffs. So you're getting guys in the draft. So it's important that with them, they bring in a few of those veterans, but then at the same time, they bring in those rookies where they can use those veterans effectively to build those rookies. So it's kind of that good balance between the two. But I mean, like, the good thing here is that I think we've kind of covered all bases. I mean, we haven't gone too in depth in terms of previews for each team. We had done videos of previews for each team, so make sure you guys go check that out. And then also later tonight, because this video will be going up tomorrow, later tonight, we are doing our interview with Gordon White, which will be posted on Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern or 12 Central, if you're where I live in the beautiful, beautiful dump of Winnipeg. And then make sure you guys drop some questions on the... just drop them below, honestly. Just drop them anywhere. Make sure you guys join the CFL Discord, like I said. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter. We have a lot of stuff coming out on Twitter. That's one of the best ways to keep up with us. So make sure you guys go down into the description below and follow our Twitter, as well as the CFL Central YouTube, Instagram. I'm going to let you get your 2 cents in here before.
No, I wasn't sure if you're going to mention the Instagram or not. My account.
What? Yeah, can't forget that plug. No, that's my baby. No. All right. So you guys make sure you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Like, share, and subscribe if you guys haven't already. And we will see you guys next time.